I think probably one of the first questions that a lot of people, it's kind of like a basic question that people wonder about is when, and we'll start with Alex again too if you don't mind, is when you first knew that you were transgender and how you kind of went about making that known to the people in your life, whether that was your family first or whatnot. So if you could talk a little bit about that, that'd be great.
Right. Well, I always knew that, I never really felt like being a girl was right. I never liked to put on the dresses. I never really liked people, when people called me Alexandra. But when I just turned 8, I told my mom that I had a problem and I didn't know what to do about it.
Okay.
And I told her that I wanted to be a boy. She said to me that boys can do anything girls can do. I said, that's not it. I love you. I love my sister. And I love my Nana, and I love girls, just I don't think it's right for me to be a girl. And then she understood.
Wow. So that's an important part to know, that you weren't saying I don't want to be a girl because I don't like girls or I don't think girls are as good as boys. It wasn't about
Right,
that.
yeah, no,
it was
that
just
wasn't
about who you are inside, and you knew
Right.
that wasn't what was right for you. That's really
Exactly.
interesting. Thank you so much for talking to me a little bit about that. And Leah, how about you?
Well, like Alex, I really always, well, not like Alex because I've always leaned more to the girl side of things.
Sure.
Like, I've always been a girl in like my brain and stuff.
Yeah.
But when I was 4, my mom and dad, we actually have this on video, asked me what I wanted to have my birthday party themed as, and I said I want to be a princess. And it kind of rocked their world a little bit. And
Yeah.
so ever since then, I kind of escalated more to a female figure. And,
Sure.
And then I transitioned in, fully in school and to my friends, probably in around 1st grade.
Okay. And you have 2 sisters, right?
2 sisters.
So your parents thought they had 2 girls and a boy. And so when you said, I want a princess party, they said, oh, okay, we need to think about this a little bit. But did you get the princess party?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. See, and that's great. And that must have made you feel really happy and like you were kind of headed in the right direction, it sounds. Awesome. Thank you. And Mace, how about you?
It's been a little bit of a harder process for me.
Sure.
Because you don't hear a lot about something that is neither boy or girl.
Right.
And it's something that for me, it took a really long time to figure out.
Right.
But once I heard more terminology, for me it was around 13 or 14.
Okay.
I was hearing a lot more terminology and seeing a lot more in media, and I was becoming more comfortable with who I was.
Great.
And
So just to kind of make it clear for anyone who's watching, so you identify as non-binary, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so Alex uses, if I were to talk about Alex, I would say he. If I were to talk about Leah, I would say she, and then you prefer the pronoun they.
Yes.
So I was hanging out with Mace. They told me all about their really cool patchwork collection and process. So is that something that, so you talked a little bit about how you needed to kind of do some research and do some of the work yourself and figure out, well, what does this mean that I don't necessarily feel like I want to go by he, or I don't necessarily feel like I want to go by she? Can you tell me a little bit more about what kind of made you arrive at that conclusion, this is what's right for me, this is what feels right? Did you go online? Did you look into it? Did you talk to other people? Just a little bit more about how you kind of made that, arrived at that conclusion.
Well, before I heard terminology for it, it was most of my life just switching from hyper feminine to hyper masculine, just trying to find out where I was comfortable.
Sure.
Just completely day to day looking like a totally different person and just being mostly confused with everything in my life.
Sure. That had to have been tough.
As soon as I made blogs and got online, and I would see other people older than me who were explaining themselves and explaining things that I had not heard of yet, and
Sure.
it prompted me into researching more of feelings I had. I didn't want to go on what's wrong with me.
Right.
It was more looking up to adults who were having the same type of process as I was, and seeing the words they were using and finding out what that means, and then
Sure.
seeing words that I'd never heard before but like instantly felt like something I connected to.
Right, it resonated
And
with
it
you.
was a pretty, like, after I found out stuff like that, it was pretty quick to like everything falling off my shoulders that I had been like struggling with, like
Wow.
more of self-realization that I didn't know if I was ever going to feel. So
Yeah, and
It
isn't
was
that a
really
great?
interesting.
It's a great feeling when
Yeah.
something, when you don't really have a word or a definition for how it is that you feel, but then something resonates with you and it clicks and you say, oh, like that's
yeah,
that's
I was
why,
like,
you know.
the whole time, like
Yeah, the
just
whole
put it in like a piece of paper and I would have been like, oh, like
Right.
5 years ago.